Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is a bit of a different video actually today. Today what we're going to be doing, guys, we're going to be going over most of the transfers which went through on transfer deadline day in the championship. So we're going to be doing a roundup for all the deals that went through on transfer deadline day for the championship, guys. And I've got to say there were some pretty massive deals going on transfer deadline day, and it was just a pretty hectic day for the championship, really. I mean, there were some outgoings to talk about, there were some incomings as well that we definitely need to talk about, and I'd love to get your guys' views on some of them. What I would like to know from you guys is, who do you think made the best signings on transfer deadline day, and overall, who do you think had the best January transfer window? I'd be very interested to know, because I think there's a couple of clubs in contention for that. And as well, what I'm going to be doing today, guys, I'm going to leave a straw poll link in the description down below, and what I want you guys to go ahead and vote on is basically, who do you think was the best signing on transfer deadline day, which was a permanent signing? So we're going to be going over quite a few in today's video, guys, and like I said, I'd be interested to know what you guys have to say. This could be an episode of Poll Predictor like that, but I thought I'd spice it up a bit, and we got quite a bit to talk about. So as you can see to the side of me, guys, here are some of the top deals which went through on transfer deadline day. So I'm not going to have time to go over every transfer which went through, because then we'd be here all day, guys, but make sure you leave a comment in the comments down below as well if you're happy with what your club did in this transfer window. Of course, as well, you can leave a comment as to how your team performed in midweek as well. I'm currently recording this when some teams are currently playing, and you know, my club, Preston North End, for one, did not have a good week at all. But talking about some of the deals, first of all, we had Scott Hogan, who completed his move to Aston Villa. I believe this was for a fee in the region of about 12 million, which could rise up to 15 million, and Aston Villa have spent some serious money in this transfer window. It has been ridiculous, really. Just overall this season, really, Aston Villa have spent an obscene amount of money. But do I think Scott Hogan is worth 12 million? I don't know, it's hard to say, really, in this current market. I'd say a striker that's scoring that many goals, you know, you're always going to be paying a top price for him. And I do think that Scott Hogan is a fantastic, you know, number 9, and he could just be that for Aston Villa. You know, the pace he's got, he's just an electric player going forward. Maybe a bit of an overspend on that, but, you know, that's what Brentford were willing to let him go for. We then had Jordan Rhodes, who completed his move to Sheffield Wednesday. Now, this one actually was on a loan. I think there's the option to buy for Sheffield Wednesday at the end of the season. I think the reason they did that was to avoid stuff with financial fair play, with how much they've already spent this season and stuff like that. But Jordan Rhodes, you know, the amount of strikers that Sheffield Wednesday have at the club now is just absolutely ridiculous. They've just got a number of strikers. So I'd be interested to know, Sheffield Wednesday fans, what you think of this one, because Rhodes is a striker who's definitely got goals in him, without a doubt. But we then had Yannick Wildscheit, who completed his move to Norwich City from Wigan Athletic, and this move took place for 7 million. I just couldn't believe that when this move actually came through. I know that Derby County were also chasing this guy's signature. He's a good player, I'm not going to deny that. I do think he's a talented player, but to go for 7 million, even with all the inflation going on in January and modern times in football, I just don't think he's worth 7 million. I think Norwich have overspent on him, and it'll be interesting to see. You know, he could prove me wrong, and he could be like a world beater for Norwich, and he could make the difference for them getting the playoffs. But do I see him being that? I'm not really so sure. And then we had a player going in the opposite direction from Norwich. We then had Sergi Canos, who completed his move to Brentford. So obviously quite a tricky winger. That could be a decent signing for Brentford. And you know, the sort of flair player who can be quite hit and miss, but I suppose when you do get him on form, he can be a top player. Of course, Brentford will be hoping just for that. We then had a couple of loan moves go through. We had Reece Oxford and Alex Bruce complete their move to Reading and Wigan, respectively. I think Reece Oxford could be a fantastic signing for Reading, if I say so myself. Definitely a player worthy of a mention there. We then had Matty Taylor, who completed his move to Bristol City from Bristol Rovers. A really controversial one, but for only 300k, that could be an absolutely fantastic signing, especially for January. We then have Matt Smith, who completed his move to QPR. A decent striker at this level, could turn out to be decent for QPR. And then a massive signing for Brighton, what I thought was Glenn Murray, who of course has been on loan at Brighton, but they now have signed Glenn Murray on a permanent deal. I think that's a fantastic bit of business from them, if I say so myself. And another signing for Wigan was Matt Gilks, who completed the move, and I've got to say, Wigan were very busy on transfer deadline day. As were Nottingham Forest, who completed 2 moves. They completed the permanent signing of Zach Clough from Bolton Wanderers, who I think that could be actually a very good deal. You know, I was quite surprised that more championship clubs weren't in for him, really, because his goals to game and assists ratio for an attacking midfielder for Bolton in League One really was something to be admired at, and I think that he could be a very decent signing for Nottingham Forest indeed. And then a fantastic signing, I think, for them is going to be Ross McCormack. Of course, his move to Aston Villa just didn't work out for him. It was a really frustrating one for him. Some attitude problems. He just didn't click into the way that things were going with Aston Villa. But, you know, for Forest to get a striker like Ross McCormack for the rest of the season, I think, along with Assombalonga, you know, their goals will keep Forest up. And I think with these signings of Clough and McCormack, I don't see Forest going down anymore, really, which beforehand, I think there was a definite possibility. They, of course, could still go down, but with those signs, I think they'll just about have enough. And it'll be an interesting one as well to see if Wigan Athletic now have enough to survive, as they have also completed the signing of Omar Bogle from Grimsby Town. I know there was a lot of Championship clubs chasing this guy, and he was one of the top scorers in League Two, and Wigan have completed the transfer for him, so it's always a bit of a risk, you know, signing the player from the lower leagues, but for the low fees we're talking about here, it's probably worth the risk. And then we had Neil Taylor, who also completed the move to Aston Villa in this transfer window on deadline day. You know, an established left-back who's been, you know, playing at a decent level, you know, in the Premier League, so I'd say that's a very decent addition for Aston Villa. Then we had quite a few loan deals go through as well. We had Ravel Morrison, Lewis Graven, Modou Barrow, Alex Bruce and Marvin Emnes all make loan moves as well on transfer deadline day. The standouts one from them, Ravel Morrison is a very interesting player indeed. If QPR are able to get the best out of him, he could be an excellent addition for them, and you know, can Holloway get the best out of a player like Ravel Morrison? It'll be a very interesting one to actually see, because he's a player with top talent, you know, you can't deny that. And Barrow from Leeds, going to Leeds on loan from Swansea, is also quite an interesting deal. Once again, quite a hit and miss sort of player. I think if you do get him on form, you know, firing for the rest of the season, he could be a decent addition to bring in at this time. We also had Obertan, who went to Wigan Athletic. You know, they were just very busy on transfer deadline day. And then we had this guy who completed his move to Fulham as well. And I know that Fulham were in need of a pacey striker, and they've got that in this guy. You know, will he be a success? But you know, time will obviously tell, but could be a decent addition for Fulham. So there you have it, guys. There were my standouts from the top deals, basically, which went through on transfer deadline day. So I'll be very interested to know from you guys as to what you thought the top deals were, who you thought the best signing was on transfer deadline day. I'll leave that link in the description down below so you guys can go ahead and vote on that. But like I said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It has been a little bit of a shorter one than normal, but tomorrow, guys, my Championship score predictions will be coming out tomorrow at 4, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But apart from that, guys, that will wrap it up for this video. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you check out all the other links in the description down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.